I'm Idria Coulson, 67 years old. Most mornings in Spokane move quietly for me. Now, coffee in the same chipped mug, the heater humming against the cold, the kind of stillness you only learn to appreciate after years working in a trauma ward. Retirement has softened the edges of my days, but it has not softened the edges of my family. My son, Mark, lives 20 minutes away, though it has never felt that close. Since marrying Hollis, the distance between us has stretched in ways I can measure without a map. She never yelled or threatened outright. She just rearranged him. One small discouragement at a time. Skip Sunday dinner. Silence your mother's calls. Let her think you are busy. I tried not to take it personally. Most mothers say that until they start recognizing the patterns. That morning, my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I wiped my hands on a towel and reached for it without urgency. No one sends anything dramatic before 8 in the morning. But there it was. A message from Mark's number, though I knew by instinct it wasn't him. I disown you. Talk to my lawyer. The text read, sent before 8, when he was likely still asleep. I stared at the words. They sat on my screen like something cut from the wrong life. Mark has never spoken to me that way. Even in our worst conversations, he stumbled through sentences, trying not to hurt my feelings. His tone was hesitant, full of pauses. This message had none of that. It was neat, sharp, efficient. Hollis had his phone. Hollis had his voice. She had decided he would deliver her words, and they would land as she intended. I felt the realization settle not with shock, but with the kind of resignation that has been accumulating for years. Hollis had his phone. Hollis had his voice. Hollis had decided she was done pretending to tolerate me. I tapped a single reply. Okay. The moment the word sent, the kitchen felt impossibly quiet. Not empty, just waiting. I set the phone down and took a slow breath, feeling something shift inside me. Something small but decisive. I had spent years bending so they would not break. For the first time, I felt the bend stop. And somewhere in that fragile stillness, I understood what I needed to do next. When the message settled in my chest, I didn't react the way a mother is supposed to. No tears, no panic. Just a long, familiar ache. It was not the first time Hollis had spoken through Mark. It was only the first time she bothered to put it in writing. I sat at the table and let the years sort themselves out. It had started small, too small to recognize as a pattern. One winter, Mark lost hours at work. Hollis called me, her voice tight with manufactured worry. Adria, the electric bill is past due. They say they'll shut it off by Friday. I said, I can cover it. Just this once. She exhaled like she had expected nothing less. Then came daycare. Mark had been laid off, and Hollis insisted she couldn't miss a single shift at her boutique job. Your grandson needs routine, she said. Mark added softly, only until I'm back on my feet. I agreed. That arrangement lasted for several months, each week blending into the next without a break. When my phone plan renewal came around, Hollis suggested it made sense for all of us to be on one account. It's cheaper for you, she said. Not for them, for me. I added her line anyway. The roof repair came next. Their landlord blamed them for water damage and demanded immediate payment. Mark called late at night. Embarrassed. Mom, we don't have the money. Hollis is furious. I don't know what to do. I took out a small loan. Hollis didn't say thank you. A day or two later, she sent a single text. Please send me the receipt when you have a moment. I need it for taxes. After her surgery 2 years ago, the bills piled up faster than they could manage. She didn't ask for help. She simply forwarded me the invoice with a short message. Can you take care of this? Not a greeting, not a question. A command wrapped in expectation. The shift was gradual, like someone turning down the light 1 degree at a time. Every request carried less explanation. Every favor was treated like an obligation. And every time I hesitated, Hollis would remind me of my place. You're his mother, she said once. irritated that I had not answered her call fast enough. That means you're our backup plan. That's how family works. Family. Her definition never included me unless money was involved. I leaned back in my chair, hearing the echo of her voice across the years. The text that morning wasn't a break in the pattern. It was the culmination. And for the first time, I felt the pattern cracking in return. I carried my phone to the desk and opened my laptop. The screen lit my hands, and for a moment they hovered above the keyboard, steady in a way I had not felt in years. The rent payment was first. I had been covering it for so long that the system still greeted me by name when I logged in. One click, then another. And the automatic transfer $1,400 every month was gone. My phone buzzed. A message from the bank. "Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment?" I whispered. "Yes," and pressed confirm. Next, I tackled the supplemental card Hollis had been using for groceries, gas, and other family expenses. I called customer service, confirming each cancellation before moving on to the next account, methodically ensuring no loose ends. The representative said, "I can freeze the card immediately. Mrs. Coulson, will the secondary user be informed?" "She will find out," I said. "That's enough." A soft click on the line marked the end of that chapter. The phone plan took longer. I had added Hollis years ago, after she insisted it was just simpler. Mark was already on it from his early 20s. The agent asked, "Which lines would you like to remove?" "Both," I said. "Today?" There was a pause. "All right, I'll process that now." Before closing the laptop, I opened the joint savings account I had contributed to for emergencies, though it had never once been used the way we agreed. I transferred every dollar I had contributed, a total of $3,620, into my personal account, leaving only the balance meant for my own expenses untouched. The rest I left untouched. Finally, I saved every receipt, every cancellation notice, every confirmation email. I organized them into a folder on my desktop labeled simply Records. When I shut the laptop, my hands trembled, but not from fear. The shaking came from something lighter, something I had not allowed myself to feel in a very long time. Relief. The house was silent, but it no longer felt like it was waiting. It felt like it was breathing with me. I sat back, exhaled slowly, and let the stillness settle around me as the first cracks in their illusion began to form. The first day passed without a sound from either of them. By afternoon, I saw Hollis's name flash across my phone, not in a message, but in a notification from social media, a new post, a photo of her and Mark on the porch, smiling too broadly for January weather. The caption read, "Family first, always." I stared at the screen. Mark's eyes were unfocused, his smile not quite reaching them. That evening, another post appeared, a picture of their son at daycare. Despite the fact that the daycare fees had been overdue for a week, she must have taken the photo days earlier. The second morning, my neighbor, Mrs. Dalton, sent a text. "They've been fighting all day," she wrote. I heard Hollis shouting from the driveway. I typed back, "Thank you. I'm aware," she replied. "If you need anything, just knock." She knew more than she said. By noon, an unfamiliar number called twice, then stopped. I let it ring. The silence around my house grew heavier, a kind of quiet that felt stretched thin. I could feel the pressure building, even without hearing a single word from them. 48 hours was a long time to pretend everything was fine. The call came on the second evening. Sharp and shrill, cutting through the quiet like something breaking. I answered on the third ring. Hollis didn't even let the line settle. "What did you do?" she screamed. "The rent bounced, and the landlord is threatening eviction. The daycare says they can't take our son tomorrow until the past due balance is cleared. They claim it's been overdue for weeks, possibly 3. Hollis shrieked. I held the phone away from my ear and waited for her voice to stop shaking. I ended the payments. I said, "All of them. You can't just do that, she shouted. You are responsible for this. You have always helped. You know our situation, You know Mark's hours were cut. You know we're struggling. I heard Mark's quiet voice behind Hollis, hesitant and strained. Hollis, please calm down. Mom, can I speak with you for a moment? No, she snapped at him. She doesn't get to run away from this. She created this mess. She pays the rent. Mark, she always pays the rent. I spoke gently. Your lawyer can contact my attorney. There was a sudden silence, the kind that hits before a storm turns violent. Your attorney, she repeated, her voice cracking with disbelief. You think you can hide behind some lawyer while our child goes without heat? The electric company shut off power this morning. Do you care at all? I do care, I said. More than you think. But I'm not your safety net anymore. You are abandoning your family, she hissed. No, I said. I am ending a pattern. Mark's voice came through again, strained. Mom, can we just talk? Just you and me. Before I could answer, Hollis cut him off. She does not get to manipulate you with this. She has to fix what she broke. I didn't break anything. I said, I just stopped paying for it. Hollis let out a sound between a sob and a snarl. If you don't send the money tonight, I swear we will take legal action. We will make you regret this. Then take it up with your lawyer. The line went dead so suddenly, it felt like the sound was sucked out of the room. I set the phone on the table and let the silence return. Heavier this time, but clearer, like something had finally revealed its true shape. After the call ended, I sat very still, letting the quiet settle over me like dust on an old box I had avoided opening. But the memories pushed their way out anyway, small moments, sharp edges. I remembered the first time Hollis tried to cut me out. Mark had invited me to dinner at their apartment. When I arrived, Hollis opened the door only a few inches. Oh, she said flatly. I thought Mark told you we canceled. Mark appeared behind her, startled. I didn't. She shot him a look that shut him up instantly. I turned around and left without making him choose. That felt kinder at the time. Then came her parents. They never spoke to me directly unless something went wrong. After Mark's first layoff, Hollis's mother called late at night. You're the only one with stability, she said. Our daughter is under enough stress. You should step up more. Step up more. As if I wasn't already sending money for groceries and covering the phone bill they used to call me ungrateful. The truth was, I became their financial cushion so gradually I didn't notice the shift. A small loan here, a temporary favor there. Soon they stopped pretending it was temporary at all. But the night that never left me was the argument in Hollis's kitchen. She wanted money for a deposit on a new car. I told her I couldn't cover that. She folded her arms and stared at me like I was something inconvenient. Your job is to help us, she said. That's what older people do. You're supposed to make things easier for the next generation, I replied quietly. Help is not a job. She rolled her eyes and walked away, muttering, It is when someone your age has nothing better to do. That was when something inside me started to splinter. The text she sent through Mark wasn't shocking. It was simply the final form of a truth I had ignored for too long. I had never been part of their family. I had only ever been the resource they leaned on. The first call came early the next morning. I saw the name Marla Trent, and for a moment I considered letting it ring. But avoidance had never helped me before. So I answered. Her voice came hard and fast. Edria, what on earth are you doing? Hollis is in tears. The children are stressed. You have created a crisis by cutting them off. I steadied my breath. I stopped paying for their expenses. That is all, Marla scoffed. You know they rely on you, as the elder. It is your responsibility to keep the family stable. You cannot just walk away because you feel slighted. A sharper voice entered the call. Her husband. Gary, you are punishing them. He accused. You have money. They don't. A real mother would step up for her son. I felt my hand tighten on the phone. I have been stepping up for years. None of you seemed concerned about stability then. Marla spoke again. Quieter, but nastier. You're harming your own grandchildren. Do you understand that? Before I could answer, the line clicked off as if they believed their declaration was final. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed again, a text from Mark. Mom, I didn't know she sent that message. I stared at the words, wishing I could hear his voice instead of reading his hesitation. Another text followed. I'm sorry. I'll call later. It wasn't courage, but it was something. A fracture. A small break in the wall Hollis had built. I placed the phone face down on the table. The room felt heavier, but the weight wasn't fear. It was the familiar pressure of being cast as the villain, simply because I had stopped being useful. Outside, forces were moving, rewriting the story in their favor. I remained still, choosing not to move with them. By late afternoon, my phone lit up again. This time it was Hollis's number, not her parents'. I answered because I already knew what was coming. Her voice was tight, brittle. I spoke to an attorney, she announced. He said your financial abandonment could be considered intentional harm. If you do not reinstate the payments, we will pursue legal action. I let her words fall between us. Then I said, send everything to my lawyer. She will respond. There was a stunned pause. You have a lawyer? Yes. For what? For this, Hollis scoffed, her composure slipping. You think some attorney can protect you from the consequences of what you've done? I think you should send the paperwork. I replied. She hung up without another word. I forwarded every screenshot, every cancellation notice, every message to my attorney. Ms. Harlan, she replied within minutes. Received. I'll take it from here. The relief that moved through me was quiet, but steady. An hour later, my phone rang again. This time it was Mark. Mom. His voice was so small I almost didn't recognize it. I'm here, I said. He exhaled shakily. I didn't send that message. I swear I didn't. I didn't even know she grabbed my phone. I was in the shower. I know. I replied softly, and I did. The tone hadn't been his. He cleared his throat. I'm drowning. Mom, we're behind on everything. The credit cards, the loans. I didn't want to ask you again. I knew how angry it made you, even when you didn't say it. I heard movement on his end like he stepped into another room, lowering his voice. I'm scared of her temper, he admitted. She gets so worked up. She says things I can't stop. It feels easier to let her handle everything. But now it's all falling apart. My hand tightened around the phone. Mark, you deserve to breathe. He didn't speak for a moment. When he did, his voice cracked. I don't know what to do anymore. The truth was pouring out now, unfiltered and raw, a fracture widening into something irreversible. By the end of the week, the consequences began to surface in the ways Hollis had never imagined. Mark called me early that morning, his voice low and raw. They shut off the electricity. He said, Hollis tried to blame the company, but they told her we're 3 months behind. I heard him swallow, the sound small and tired. And daycare refused to take our son today. They said we owe too much. Hollis yelled at the receptionist until they threatened to call security. A second pause. The landlord came by. There's an eviction warning on the door. We have 5 days. I waited, giving him space he hadn't had in years. Hollis packed her things. He said, she took the kids and went to her parents' house last night. She said she can't live in these conditions. She blamed me for everything. And you, I asked. I stayed. He said quietly, I can't run back there with her. Not after all of this. The line was silent for a long moment before he finally breathed out the words I'd been waiting to hear for too many years. Mom, I'm sorry. I should have stopped this years ago. I let her use you. I let her push you away. I thought if I kept the peace, it would get better. His voice broke. It never did. I closed my eyes, letting the apology settle, not to erase the past, but to acknowledge it. Mark, I said softly, you're finally seeing the truth. That matters. He exhaled shakily, the sound of a man realizing how much weight he'd been carrying. The line stayed open, neither of us rushing to end it. Mark asked to meet at a small diner downtown, the one we used to visit after his high school basketball games. When I walked in, he stood up too quickly, as if he wasn't sure he deserved to. "Mom," he said, voice thick, "I'm sorry for everything. Not just the past week. For all the years I let it happen." I sat across from him. "I hear you." He rubbed his forehead. "Hollis says this is all your fault. She says you abandoned us. But I know better now. I see how much I put on you, how much she expected from you. And I let her. I didn't offer comfort. I didn't rescue him from the weight of his words. Instead, I said, I'm not paying their debts. I'm not stepping back into that role." He nodded slowly. "I'm not asking you to. I just want to make things right between us." Something in his voice was different, steady. Finally, his own. A week later, I sat in a quiet counseling room, hands folded in my lap, speaking aloud truths I had carried for decades. It felt like opening windows in a house I hadn't realized was dark. That evening, snow began to fall as I walked home. Each step felt lighter, as if something clenched inside me had finally let go. I had peace again, real peace, and I was done bargaining it away. Thank you for reading this story. If you'd like more, remember to like and subscribe so you never miss the next chapter.